And with these changes, there came a growing need for the development of a new approach for assuring the preservation of the environment and our own health and safety, both on and off the job. In response, a task force made up of members from industry, organized labor, and governmental agencies was created. Their goal was to develop a plan for conveying information on hazardous materials in the workplace, a plan that could be implemented on a pan-Canadian basis. The project task force submitted its report to federal and provincial authorities, and subsequently their recommendations were enacted into law. This legislation, known as Whmis, Workplace Hazardous Material Information System, is having a significant effect on workplace procedures across Canada. Whmis uses such terms as hazard symbols, warning labels, material safety data sheets, worker education programs, and validated trade secrets. And you may be asking the same questions that are on a lot of people's minds. What's it all about? Just how does it affect me? Your company has developed this videotape to answer these questions and review the important elements of Whmis and the steps that are being taken to ensure that you are fully aware of any potentially hazardous materials you may encounter on the job. However, it's important to recognize that ensuring health and safety on the job requires a cooperative effort by both the company and its employees. In the final analysis, it is your understanding of potential hazards and your knowledge of safe work practices that will enable all of us to achieve our mutual goal of preventing occupational illnesses and injuries. Let's take a closer look at Whmis and how it can help us achieve this objective. Whmis has three principal elements. First, that labels, placards, or other forms of warning be applied to all containers of hazardous materials. Second, that a file of material safety data sheets, or MSDSs, containing health and safety information for each hazardous material be maintained within every affected workplace. Third, that information and training regarding the handling of potentially hazardous materials be provided to every worker. To better understand how these recommendations ensure your safety on the job, let's take a closer look at each one. First, all chemicals must be evaluated against a list of hazardous substances and criteria as defined by Whmis. Although each company has the option of performing its own chemical evaluations, the primary responsibility for evaluating a chemical's potentially harmful health or physical effects rests with the chemical's producer or importer. If the investigation reveals positive evidence linking a chemical to a harmful health or physical effect, the chemical is classified as a hazardous material. Whmis identifies several broad classifications of criteria for hazardous material and physical agents. They are compressed gas, flammable and combustible material, oxidizing material, poisonous materials, biohazardous infectious materials, corrosives, and dangerously reactive materials. If a product evaluation reveals the potential for any of these health or physical hazards, an appropriate cautionary label or placard must be applied to each container by the supplier. These distinctive supplier warning labels play an important part in your protection and safety and should not be defaced or removed. Labels give the material's name or names, hazard symbols, risk phrases, precautionary measures, first aid, supplier identification, and reference to the material safety data sheet. Often, when a material is being used in a specific workplace, it is not practical to keep it in its original container. If this is the case, it is mandatory that a workplace label be applied to the new container. This label must include the material identifier and the appropriate hazard symbol. Whmis does not specifically require the labeling on portable containers into which you have transferred hazardous material intended only for your own immediate use. However, doing so will help prevent accidental misuse. Potentially hazardous materials in tanks, vessels, and piping systems must also be similarly labeled. The label is intended to identify the material and provide you with the immediate hazard warnings. In order to provide more specific safety and health information, suppliers are also required to provide users with material safety data sheets keyed to the name used on the product label. In general, an MSDS provides data to help you use the materials safely. The information normally provided includes the material's identification and use, any potential hazardous ingredients, physical data, and emergency procedures for fire and exposure, reactivity data, toxicological properties, preventive measures, first aid, the name of the person or group responsible for preparation of the material safety data sheets, and the date of preparation. These sheets must be kept on file and readily accessible. If you need to review an MSDS, you will be able to do so by contacting your supervisor. In some cases, chemical manufacturers can withhold non-critical information from a material safety data sheet. This is allowed only if the information can be legitimately claimed as a trade secret and appropriate safe handling procedures relating to the material are fully disclosed. However, in the event of a medical or occupational health need, even trade secret information must be provided to qualified health professionals in accordance with established procedures. To further ensure your health and safety when working with hazardous materials, your supervisor will be providing you with regular training and information on all operations in your work area where hazardous materials are present. This information and training must include the availability and location of the inventory of hazardous materials, an explanation of the labeling requirements, the methods and observations that are used to detect the presence or release of a hazardous material in the workplace, such as monitoring with personal or continuous work area monitoring devices, and any other indicators, such as appearance or odor. Training will also be conducted on the physical and health hazards of the materials in your work area, as well as the measures to be taken to protect yourself from these hazards. These measures include the specific procedures already in place, such as safe work practices, emergency procedures, the use, purpose, and limitations of personal protective equipment, such as face shields, respirators, protective clothing, and safety glasses, as well as information concerning the location and availability of MSDS files. Hazard symbols, warning labels, material safety data sheets, worker education sessions, risk phrases, precautionary measures, and first aid are all aspects of Whmis, the Workplace Hazardous Material Information System. They are designed to protect your health and safety, but your cooperation is equally important. Be an active participant in all hazardous material training sessions. Be alert to warning signs and labels. Read the material safety data sheets prepared for the materials you handle, and follow all recommended procedures for handling hazardous materials. Remember, they are designed to protect your health and safety. Whmis legislation has been enacted for everyone's protection, and we want to lead the way with a comprehensive workplace health and safety program. With your help, we can do it.
People who have committed horrendous acts, demonic acts,